So today we've had a little Husqvarna shakedown. Been lucky enough to ride the FC250 and the FC450. Just wanted to have a little ride and just get myself familiar with them before we go into depth and test these bikes a little bit more. I haven't rode any of the new 2023 bikes which Husqvarna have available at the minute, nor have I rode the KTM 2023 model. So it was quite interesting to just to ride the bikes, get a good feel for them. Obviously, a little while back we did a video with Bradley Smith regarding the spec of the bikes. Obviously, Husky share a lot of their development and design with another manufacturer. So I was really looking forward to riding the bike, as obviously the development team have overhauled the full range. I think we're all aware that these bikes, you know, share the same frame, so that the 350, the 250, even the two-stroke and the 450, you know, the engines can switch into all the frames. So it's quite an interesting concept. The new frame, we've all heard, you know, regarding it being quite rigid, and we've all heard about the suspension, that maybe that, you know, it's more crucial now, and it certainly needs to be tweaked to meet your personal preference. When riding the bike, one of the first things that I noticed, especially on the 250, which is the first bike that I rode, the power was completely different to what I'd rode on the previous model. So on the previous ones, it always, you know, you'd always felt that the bike lent itself to be from mid to top, and that you know you revved the bike, and that was where the bike was happy. It was almost happy sitting there right at a high RPM near the rev limiter. That's not the case on the new model. The new model seems to be, it's more torquey, more drive. It seems more rider friendly, and it's a really nice bike to ride. So I think that this bike is definitely going to cater for a wider range of riders because of the drivability that the bike offers, and also as well, you know, it's easy to go fast when you're riding in the meat of the power, and when you've got the, you know, the torque there to basically to pull. Maybe it did sign off a little bit too early, but it wasn't a problem, you know. I was actually just upshifting on the bike and using the gearbox to its full advantage. So, you know, there was one section of the track in particular, and I was coming out of the tight 90 turn, and then in the air upshift into fourth to get the drive on the landing, which it pulled without no bog, no hesitation whatsoever, straight up to the next tabletop. The bike is in handling, you know, felt great. The suspension's standard, and it soaked up everything that I kind of threw out. You know, whilst I was getting my timing in, I was a little bit out on a few of the jumps, and to be honest, it didn't come through my body, and it certainly didn't feel like it was a FUD, or that the bike was going to buckle, or even that I was going to. Regarding the feel of the bike, it's lower. And I personally like to drive quite a lot with the rear end anyway, and kind of situate myself a little bit back and kind of get the feel for the rear when I'm riding on the bike. I noticed that it was so much better on this model for that, so I could really feel connected and really feel where the rear wheel was around on the track, and what it was actually doing when it was moving out, you know, when it was finding grip, or just when it was genuinely sliding from some of the hard turns out there. I'm led to believe that that's all down to the linkage, new linkage design, the swinging arm. And for me, that was a massive positive, because I actually knew what the bike was doing, and I could feel that on track. Personally, I like that because it's predictable. We've got launch control, we've got traction control, we've even got quick shift. So the quick shift's going to be quite interesting, and I'm going to reserve my opinion on that till a later date. I have tested the quick shifter many years ago on a motocross bike, and I'm well aware of, you know, you know, that is down to the bend on the gear lever, or the tension on the gear lever that sends signals up to the CDI and then cuts out the ignition, and it's, I don't know, 0.004 of a second, so you can't feel it while you've got the throttle wide open and you take the tension on the gear. It did work before. I know that it hasn't really taken off too much since then, so it's going to be interesting to see how this works in the future, see if this creates any problems, and to see what the general market feel about the quick shifter, whether they use it or whether it's just another gimmick on the bike that's just going to be sitting there with another button that doesn't get pressed. FC450, what a machine. The bike just absolutely hauls, and I mean, I was doing some practice, just having a few test runs at the starts, just trying a few things out, and it surprised me hooking third with everything on, like traction control, quick shift, that the launch control, that the bike just absolutely ripped third gear, no problem whatsoever. It's so surprising the meters that you make on a 450 and how easy that is to make. Probably the 450 is less desirable in the market, especially in the UK market these days, because most people do realise now that a 450 is too much. For me, riding around there, I really enjoyed it because it was lazy. It made me lazy. I could get over the jumps quite easy, but at the same time was still fast around the track. So it was a pleasure for me just to ride the bike and just to make the most of the bike doing most of the work for me as I'm getting older these days. So, you know, it's still a good tool for the job, as long as you've got the skills to use it. One of the frustrating things for me in the motocross community is seeing people that maybe shouldn't have 450s out on track because they're not using them to their full capacity. That's not many people can use them to the full capacity, and I'm certainly one of those people, but it's just more of a case of when I'm watching guys ride around and they're not getting the throttle open, and, you know, on and off, rolling on and off on the bike, and it's almost like it's kind of like just on tick over. For me, I feel like they'd so much benefit with riding a bike that they are actually riding, and getting the hammer down on the bike and just making the most of it. But that said, I kind of contradict myself by, you know, what I've just said. First of all, is because it makes it so easy to ride round and to ride round fast, I kind of get why maybe they don't want anything lower than the 450. Because, for example, you know, if you do want to pop that jump, or, you know, you do want to hammer down the straight and do a quick overtaking move, you know, you don't really have to set things up too much on the bikes. You know, you can be lazy out of the turn, mess it up and still pop the jump, or, you know, potentially you can just blow your mate away down the straight because without setting up the turn to make the pass. Suspension wise on both models, again, I felt they were both really forgiving, firm with a real good plush action. For me, it wasn't solid. It didn't hurt my wrist, didn't hurt my ankles while I was riding round. It just felt comfortable. And again, getting that feel from the rear end and being able to kind of get a sense or a feeling of what the bike is going to do, you know, it's a massive plus for me, a massive advantage.